Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts, and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines fast. Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar threatens India with thousands of suicide bombers. Indian Army foils fresh Pakistani drone intrusions in Jammu and Kashmir. And defense expert SSS open terror threats from Pakistan-based troops against India. Pakistan's terror ecosystem is once again speaking through audio messages and propaganda clips. This time, the voice is of purportedly that of Masood Azhar, the chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Pakistan-based terror organization, claiming he commands thousands of suicide bombers. But behind the bluster lies a familiar pattern: desperation, denial, and a terror network under sustained pressure from Indian counter-terror operations. New Delhi is clear that this is not strength on display, but panic from across the border.
A fresh audio clip circulated widely on Telegram and X by pro-ISI handles claims to feature Masood Azhar boasting about an army of suicide attackers ready for deployment. The exact date and authenticity of the recording remain unverified, but Indian security agencies say the timing is telling. The message has surfaced months after India's decisive military response under Operation Sindoor, which dismantled key Jaish terror infrastructure deep inside Pakistan. In the audio, Azhar claims his recruits are not 1, 2 or 100, but far more, suggesting their numbers would cause an uproar in global media. He insists they seek no worldly rewards, only so-called martyrdom. Security analysts see this as recycled extremist rhetoric, designed less to threaten India and more to reassure dwindling cadres after heavy battlefield losses.
See, if you look at this new audio clip where Masood Azhar is talking about that more than 1,000 suicide bombers are ready to infiltrate into India and spill blood here, that only indicates that Masood Azhar is completely rattled. He is desperate, and this only shows his frustration. Reason is obvious because Masood Azhar never thought that Pakistan can no more be a safe haven for him. Because for the last several decades, he had been operating from Pakistan, calling shots, pushing in terrorists into this side of the border.
The propaganda push coincides with another revelation. Lashkar-e-Taiba Deputy Chief Saifullah Kasuri, the Pahalgam terror mastermind, was recently seen boasting about close ties with Pakistan Army, claiming he was invited to lead funeral prayers for Pakistani soldiers after Operation Sindoor. Both clips, intelligence sources say, expose what India has long maintained, that terror groups and the Pakistani military establishment operate in close coordination.
Well, there's nothing new in it. Masood Azhar and others' bravado is known to India, and we have often furnished proof of their acts and activities ever since Kandahar hijacking in 2000. This has been ongoing, and I should say that their bravado increases with distance and with time. They have forgotten when, during initial phases of Operation Sindoor, how many of their cadres and leaders and relatives of Masood Azhar himself died in Indian retaliatory attacks.
Operation Sindoor marked a turning point. Indian precision strikes flattened multiple Jaish facilities, including its Bahawalpur Nerve Center, Jamia Masjid Subhanallah. at least 10 of Azhar's close relatives, his sister, brother-in-law, nephew, niece and extended family members were killed. Several senior aides were also neutralized. For the first time, Jaish commanders publicly acknowledged these losses, indirectly confirming the scale of the damage.
After Operation Sindoor, what really happened? For the first time, an attack was carried out with precision. It was a 22-minute attack, 26 missiles were fired, 9 terror were decimated and demolished, and one of them was Markaz Subhanallah. That was a headquarter of Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur area. That means heart of Pakistan, India was able to strike, in which many of the Jaish-e-Mohammed cadre as well as family members of Masood Azhar were killed. So what Masood Azhar is now trying to do is he is trying to make his presence felt through audio. And now the question arises, why not a video of Masood Azhar? Because Masood Azhar is known for having several videos where he's delivering lectures and addressing the gathering. Reason is obvious, because he is in the secure environment of Pakistan's inter-service intelligence. Because Pakistan's inter-service intelligence and army has provided him security. So they know that if he is kept out in open, anytime anything can happen, because we have already seen that India was able to hit out at Jaish-e-Mohammed. So he is afraid of moving out freely. So he is coming out with the audio clip where he is trying to send a message.
Masood Azhar himself has not been seen in public since 2019 after a mysterious blast hit his Bahawalpur hideout. Intelligence assessments suggest he may now be operating from Pakistan-occupied regions, far from the public eye but still under protection. A UN-designated terrorist, Azhar is the architect of some of India's deadliest attacks, including the 2016 Pathankot air base strike and the 2019 Pulwama suicide bombing that killed 44 CRPF personnel. Indian security agencies say the latest audio is being forensically analyzed, voice samples, metadata and dissemination patterns to assess residual threats from surviving sleeper cells. Officials stress that India's counter-terror posture remains proactive, intelligence-led and uncompromising.
India's zero-tolerance policy against cross-border terrorism is once again on display. Along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir, the Indian Army has responded decisively to a fresh wave of Pakistani drone incursions, a familiar tactic used by Islamabad to push weapons, drugs and terror logistics into Indian territory. The attempted provocations come even as India's military leadership has made it clear that the lessons of Operation Sindoor have not faded, and neither has India's resolve.
The Indian Army confirmed that multiple small Pakistani drones were detected along the line of control and international border between January 10 and January 12. The drones were sighted across some of the most sensitive sectors, Jammu, Samba, Rajouri and Poonch, triggering immediate counter-unmanned aerial system measures. Troops in the Nowshera sector opened fire using medium and light machine guns, forcing several drones to retreat back across the border. Nighttime visuals from Rajouri showed tracer rounds cutting through the darkness, evoking memories of last year's Operation Sindoor, when India shot down multiple Pakistani drones and dismantled key terror supply routes. Search operations are underway to determine whether the drones managed to drop arms, narcotics or terror funds, a method routinely employed by Pakistan to sustain proxy militant networks in Jammu and Kashmir. Security officials say the spike is significant. After Operation Sindoor, drone sightings had sharply declined. Yet on a single day this week, at least 5 drone incursions were recorded, suggesting renewed attempts by Pakistan's military establishment to probe Indian defences and revive infiltration corridors.
ये जो ड्रोन्स अभी हमने देखे हैं ये बहुत छोटे ड्रोन्स हैं, ये लाइट ऑन करके आते हैं, ये बहुत हाइट पे नहीं जाते हैं और ये बहुत ही कम देखे गए हैं। जैसे 10 के आसपास तकरीबन 6 से 7 देखे गए थे, 11 और 12 तारीख को 2 से 3 देखे गए हैं। तो ये जो ड्रोन थे ये मैं समझता हूं कि डिफेंसिव ड्रोन थे, जो कि ये ऊपर आके देखना चाहते कि हमारे अगेंस्ट कोई कार्रवाई तो नहीं हो रही है। मैं ये मना नहीं कर रहा हूं, हो सकता है कि वो ये भी देखना चाहें कि कोई कहीं गैप तो नहीं है, इंडियन आर्मी में कोई ढिलाई तो नहीं है, कोई गैप वो जहां से वो टेररिस्ट वहां से भेज सके। तो मेरे ख्याल से उनको उसका नेगेटिव जवाब ही मिला होगा, उन्होंने देखा होगा कि आज की तारीख पे कोई ऐसी जगह नहीं है, कोई ऐसे गैप्स नहीं जहां से वो भेज सकें। लेकिन ये जरूर है, आज जो हमारी डीजीएमओ स्टॉक हुई है उस स्टॉक में इसके बारे में जिक्र किया गया है और उनको बताया गया है कि ये हमें मंजूर नहीं है और कृपया करके इस पे लगाम लगाएं।
Addressing his annual press conference, General Dwivedi confirmed that Pakistan's Director General of Military Operations has been formally conveyed India's position that such intrusions are unacceptable and must stop immediately. The message was unambiguous. Continued provocations will invite consequences. The Army Chief also highlighted the strategic impact of Operation Sindoor, launched in May 2025, stating that the operation remains ongoing. According to the Army, sustained military pressure has choked terror recruitment pipelines and severely weakened Pakistan-backed terror networks across the border.
ऑप सिंदूर के बाद जो हमारा टेररिस्ट इनिशिएटेड इंसिडेंट है वो तकरीबन खत्म हो चुका है। मैंने आपको जैसे बताया कि उसी प्रकार से जो एक्टिविटीज हैं वो बहुत कम हो चुकी हैं। इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हमने जेएंडके में कोई किसी प्रकार की कमी पेशी की है या कोई हमने किसी प्रकार की फौज को वहां से निकाला है, हमने उतना ही दबाव बना के रखा हुआ है। जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि क्या वापस बाहर के जो कैंप्स हैं, जो वेस्ट साइड कैंप्स हैं, जिसके बारे में मैंने अभी बताया कि 8 कैंप्स अभी भी वहां पे एक्टिव हैं हमारी नॉलेज में और उस पर अभी भी लोग बैठे हुए हैं। कितने बैठे हैं ये अलग अलग इसके सोच विचार हैं, बट हमारी तरफ से अगर देखा जाए तो तकरीबन 100 से 150 लोग हो सकता है वहां पर बैठे हों।
Intelligence assessments indicate that while infiltration attempts have declined, terror infrastructure across the western border remains intact. Indian agencies estimate that 8 active terror camps continue to function in Pakistan-occupied areas, housing up to 150 militants awaiting opportunities to cross over. Experts say Pakistan's reliance on drones reflects strategic desperation. With traditional infiltration routes blocked and terror launch pads under constant surveillance, Islamabad appears to be testing India's response thresholds, a gamble that New Delhi has repeatedly shown it will not tolerate.
आजकल ड्रोन्स की एक्टिविटी जो सस्पेक्टेड देखी गई है उस पर फायर भी किया गया है, तो उस लगता है कि पाकिस्तान या तो सर्विलेंस कर रहा है या कोई ड्रग्स और हथियारों की सप्लाई ड्रॉप कर रहा है। तो आर्मी और बीएसएफ हाई अलर्ट पे हैं और मुझे लगता है जेएंडके पुलिस इन एरियाज में भी हाई अलर्ट में है। लेकिन जो गांव पास लगते हैं वहां सिर्फ लोगों की का साथ लेके इसको पूरे एरिया को स्कैन करना चाहिए कि कहीं कोई सप्लाई तो नहीं ड्रॉप की है हथियारों की या ड्रग्स की। तो अच्छा है, इनको शूट डाउन करना चाहिए जो आर्मी और बीएसएफ ने किया है, मुझे लगता है करना ही चाहिए क्योंकि पाकिस्तान सुधरने वाला नहीं है।
From coordinated drone neutralization to strategic messaging at the highest military level, India's posture remains firm, denying Pakistan both plausible deniability and operational space. The surge in drone activity has only reinforced New Delhi's conviction that sustained pressure is the only language Islamabad understands.
Pakistan-based terror organizations have once again issued open threats against India, including calls for suicide attacks and jihad, in what security agencies view as an attempt to revive cross-border terrorism. The public nature of these statements has raised fresh questions over Pakistan's continued provision of safe haven and ideological support to terrorist groups targeting India. Against this backdrop, India has reinforced its counter-terror posture, with Operation Sindoor signaling that such threats will invite decisive consequences. To assess the strategic implications of these developments, I am joined by defense expert Dhruv Khatoj. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show. So, my first question to you is we are seeing terror leaders in Pakistan speaking openly about genocide, suicide attacks, and jihad on public platforms. Has Pakistan crossed from plausible deniability into open normalization of terrorism as state policy?
There is certain leaders of terrorist organizations like the Hezbollah, the Jaish and the Lashkar-e-Taiba. They have been given a free hand in Pakistan to run. And Pakistan has still got adequate deniability as to what they are doing. So it'll be difficult to pinpoint Pakistan on the world stage on statements made by these individuals. But that notwithstanding, I think the whole world knows that Pakistan is a sponsor of terror, that these terrorist organizations are supported, trained, administered, financed and sent into India by the Pakistani state, especially by the ISI. So there is no secret as far as what Pakistan is doing.
From a counter-terrorism standpoint, how significant is this shift from covert infiltration to overt intimidation through public speeches, videos and audio messages?
I have been following the Pakistani terrorist groups which operate against India for a long time. And I have seen these videos come out. It is not a recent phenomenon. They have been doing it over the years. And they simply call it, they will use words like freedom of speech or whatever have you. And but to say it is a new activity, no. They have been doing it earlier. They are doing it now, and I think they will continue doing it in the future unless we give them appropriate deterrence, which will make them rethink their options.
Pakistan has long argued that its own instability makes it a victim of terrorism. How credible is that argument when terror leaders operate openly, freely, and with the apparent institutional protection?
Pakistan has always claimed to be a victim of terrorism. But the whole point is what the Americans themselves said, that those who train the snakes, you can't complain about them being in your backyard. Pakistan has been the epicenter of terrorism, not just within Pakistan, but across the world. Any terrorist attack which takes place anywhere in the world, there is somehow or the other a Pakistani link attached to it. Now, inevitably, if you keep these snakes in your backyard, some of them will turn back and bite you. So they are facing their own problems now. They have got a very serious internal security situation with the freedom fighters of Balochistan, with the rebel groups in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, and now they also have problems with Afghanistan. There are very serious disturbances on the Pakistan-Afghan border. So whatever Pakistan has done, I think their own policies, their own security policies and the policies of the military are directly responsible for what is happening in Pakistan.
Despite international sanctions and designations, terror leaders continue to reorganize. Does this expose a structural failure of global counter-terror frameworks when terrorism is shielded by a sovereign state?
I've always had doubts about the international systems as far as counter-terrorism is concerned. Most of these Western bodies, including the United States, they have used these very same organizations when it suited their purposes. Whether it is the Islamic State, whether it is Al-Qaeda, whether it is the Taliban in Afghanistan, at some point of time, the Western agencies or the Western countries, they used it for their purposes. So, to actually come down to a stage where the whole world will fight terror, I think is going to be a very difficult proposition. However, on two things, I think countries are cooperating. One is on as far as finances are concerned, and the second is as far as intelligence is concerned. Now, where the interests of countries converge, then I think a lot of cooperation takes place on these two fields, and India is cooperating with quite a few countries on these two particular issues. One is choking finances, and the second is intelligence, getting intelligence of their activities.
India's Operation Sindoor sent a clear message that terrorism will invite direct consequences. Would you say Operation Sindoor marked a strategic shift where India seized escalation control and imposed deterrence on its own terms?
However, when we see that Pahalgam still took place in 2025, it in a sense indicated that this deterrence still has not really worked. And I think now we are moving on to a a different stage. What we did in Operation Sindoor was much more than military action. One, diplomatically, huge actions were taken. Their diplomatic missions were curtailed. Number two, militarily, of course, these operations, the whole world knows about what we've done. But thirdly, in the economic and social domain, I think that has been a huge game changer itself, especially curtailing the Indus water treaties and making it inoperable. Now that, I think, is going to have the most serious ramifications on Pakistan and will change their behavior in course of time. So when we are looking at these four major changes made, it indicates not just a military approach, but a whole of government approach, a whole of India approach, where society, economy, the military and diplomacy all merge together to deter Pakistan.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, sir.
Thank you.
Political fault lines are once again deepening in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir as protests erupt over what activists describe as Pakistan's failure to honour its own commitments. An agreement signed between the government of Pakistan and the Joint Awami Action Committee is now at the centre of fresh unrest, with allegations of betrayal, repression and denial of genuine political representation. As anger spills onto the streets, fueled by governance failures and crippling power outages, voices from POJK warn that continued disregard for public demands could push the region towards deeper instability. Political tension is once again escalating in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir as public anger grows over the non-implementation of an agreement between the government of Pakistan and the Joint Awami Action Committee. Protest leaders accuse the authorities of backtracking on their commitments, particularly regarding political representation and governance reforms. According to the committee, the agreement promised the abolition of 12 reserved seats allocated to migrants residing in Pakistan. However, instead of scrapping these seats, the same individuals have reportedly been reappointed as chairpersons of assembly committees and granted official privileges. Moves, the committee says, clearly violates the terms of the agreement. The protest come amid allegations of excessive force and targeted action against youth activists.
हमारे नौजवानों को डायरेक्ट गोलियां मारी गई, हमारे नौजवानों को पूरी रियासत के अंदर तशद्दुद का निशाना बनाया गया, चादर और चार दीवारी का तकद्दस पामाल किया गया, लेकिन जम्मू कश्मीर ज्वाइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी ने सब्र का मुजाहरा किया क्योंकि पूरा प्लान था। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह रियासत के लोग, रियासत के नौजवान बाशऊर हैं, उनको जो बात कही उन्होंने वो बात मानी। मैं फिर ये बात कहूंगा कि आप हमारे पाबंद नहीं हैं, लेकिन आपसे एक रिक्वेस्ट हम जरूर करेंगे कि आप डिसिप्लिन के अंदर रहें। आप जब डिसिप्लिन के अंदर रहते हैं, ये जिस तरीके से आप यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं ना, खुदा की कसम आधी कामयाबी आपकी इस तरीके बैठने से मैं समझता हूँ उनकी नब्ज क्या है।
Highlighting the importance of patience, Shaukat Nawaz Mir said the committee deliberately exercised restraint and discipline despite repression.
उसके बाद 4 और 5 अक्टूबर एक एग्रीमेंट हुआ। एग्रीमेंट के अंदर तमाम शराइत पब्लिक की गई जो लिखी गई हैं। हुकूमत पाकिस्तान, हुकूमत आज़ाद कश्मीर और जम्मू कश्मीर ज्वाइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी, उस एग्रीमेंट के अंदर 3 वो ताकतें थी जिनके दरमियान वो एग्रीमेंट हुआ। इससे पहले आपको कहा जाता था कि ये जत्था है, आपको कोई तस्लीम नहीं करता था। आपकी सबसे बड़ी और पहली कामयाबी क्या थी कि जिस वक्त जम्मू और कश्मीर ज्वाइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी के मैंडेट को तस्लीम करते हुए उस सह फरीकी एग्रीमेंट के अंदर आपने बहैसियत फरीक पेपर साइन किए, आपकी हकीकत को तस्लीम किया गया, जो पूरी दुनिया आज कश्मीरियों की हकीकत को तस्लीम करती है और मानती है। ये आपकी सबसे बड़ी कामयाबी है।
The lack of genuine political representation has contributed to multiple governance failures across the region. Alongside political discontent, residents are now grappling with prolonged electricity load shedding, particularly in rural areas. Anger over frequent power cuts and low voltage has sparked fresh protests, with residents blocking highways and raising slogans against the electricity department. The disruptions continue to severely affect daily life and local businesses.
बिजली की जो टाइमिंग है वो बिल्कुल कोई बराबर टाइमिंग इन्होंने नहीं रखी हुई। सुबह जिस वक्त लोग आते हैं कारोबार करने, नाश्ते के टाइम उन्होंने बिजली बंद की होती है। शाम को जब ये जा रहे होते हैं तब भी बिजली बंद होती है। दिन के टाइम जब कारोबार का टाइम होता है बहुत ज़्यादा वक्त में इन्हें बिजली लेके जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से बहुत ज़्यादा कारोबार मुतासर होते हैं। अभी एक बंदे ने काम ही जो है बिजली के ज़रिए करना है, चार्जिंग करनी है, मोबाइल करनी है या इजी पैसे का काम करना है, तो वो किस तरह दिन का काम करेगा।
With political promises ignored and essential services failing, both the youth and local residents are left frustrated and voicing their anger. The POJK government faces mounting pressure to fulfill their commitments or risk further unrest across the region. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@nin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.